Let's give a complete recap of the DreamWorks movie Antz, which in my opinion is highly underrated. The main character is Z, an anxious, insecure worker ant who's really struggling with a deep sense of existential crisis. Despite his best efforts, he just can't shake the feeling that he's completely insignificant and meaningless in the grand scheme of the colony. Even his own psychiatrist can't seem to help him overcome these crippling feelings of insignificance. One night, Z decides to escape the monotony of his daily routine and heads to the local bar. And that's where his life takes an unexpected turn. He falls head over heels in love with the colony's beautiful and privileged Princess Bala. Bala, it seems, is also looking for a way to break free from the suffocating constraints of her royal life. Meanwhile, tensions are rising as the Antz declare war on an encroaching termite colony. Soldiers are being sent out to engage the invaders, and Z sees this as his chance to get closer to Bala. So he hatches a plan. He convinces his best friend, a soldier ant named Weaver, to switch places with him so that he can join the army and hopefully cross paths with the princess again. Once in the army, he befriends a gruff but kind-hearted staff sergeant named Barbatus. Little does Z know, however, that the army's ruthless leader General Mandible, who also happens to be Bala's fiancé, is secretly plotting to get rid of the soldiers loyal to the queen. Mandible's sinister plan is to stage a coup d'état and take control of the colony for himself. When the ants finally engage the termites in battle, the fighting is fierce and chaotic. Z watches in horror as the termites' powerful acid-shooting defenses decimate his fellow soldiers. Tragically, everyone except him is killed in the onslaught. As Barbatus lies dying, he imparts one final piece of wisdom to Z.
Barbatus, don't make my mistake yet. Don't follow orders your whole life. Think for yourself.
Meanwhile, back at the colony, Weaver has joined the digging crew and has fallen for Z's coworker, the lovely Azteca. So, while Z is out on the battlefield, experiencing a profound personal transformation, his best friend is also finding unexpected love and connection in the most unlikely of places. When Z returns home from the disastrous battle against the termites, he's shocked to find that he's been mistakenly hailed as a war hero by the other ants. The truth is, he's secretly feeling deeply dissatisfied and disillusioned by the whole experience. But Z's troubles are just beginning. The colony's ruthless leader General Mandible congratulates him on his heroic actions and then introduces him to the queen. And that's when Z comes face to face with Bala, the colony's princess, who recognizes him as just a lowly worker ant, not a soldier. Panicked and desperate, Z decides to take drastic action. He pretends to take Bala hostage and then flees the colony with her in tow. But their escape doesn't go as planned, and they end up tumbling out of the anthill through a garbage chute. Now a fugitive, Z knows he can't go back to the colony. So he decides to embark on a quest to find the legendary Insectopia, a mythical paradise where insects from all over the world are said to live in harmony. Bala, meanwhile, tries to make her way back to the colony, but quickly changes her mind after a harrowing encounter with a terrifying praying mantis. Realizing she has no choice but to stick with Z, she reluctantly rejoins him on his journey. Z's bold act of defiance and individuality has really shaken things up back in the colony. Instead of just blindly following orders like they're supposed to, the worker ants and even some of the soldiers are starting to question the status quo. Productivity has ground to a halt as the ants grapple with these newfound feelings of dissent and rebellion. Seeing that he's losing control of the situation, the ruthless General Mandible knows he needs to take drastic action. So he hatches a plan to publicly vilify Z, portraying him as a selfish criminal traitor who's only out for himself. Mandible starts preaching the virtues of conformity and obedience, promising the workers all sorts of rewards if they just focus on completing a massive new mega-tunnel project that he's designed.
Each and every one of you will get the day off, so you can be the guest of honor at the mega-tunnel dedication ceremony.
But Mandible's second in command, a cunning flying ant named Cutter, is starting to have his doubts. Despite Mandible's constant reassurances that he's acting in the best interests of the colony, Cutter can't help but wonder if there's more to the story. He's beginning to suspect that Mandible's true motivations might not be as altruistic as he claims. As Z and Bala continue their journey towards the mythical Insectopia, they stumble upon something completely unexpected: a human picnic. At first, the two ants are completely baffled by all the strange foreign objects surrounding them. The colorful wrappers and containers that the humans have left behind are a total mystery. Luckily, they're soon approached by a friendly-looking wasp couple, Muffy and Chip, who seem eager to help the lost ants. Muffy and Chip, a pair of rather condescending liberal wasps, try to show Z and Bala how to break open the wrappers and access the delicious food inside, and in a shocking turn of events, Muffy is swatted and killed right before their eyes. Terrified, Z and Bala scramble to escape the giant human shoe that comes crashing down, threatening to squish them. In a heroic act, Z manages to rescue Bala from the shoe's clutches, narrowly avoiding a tragic end. Shaken but still determined, the two ants finally reach what they believe to be the long-sought-after Insectopia. But to their surprise, it's not the lush idyllic paradise they were expecting. Instead, it's a trash can overflowing with decaying food scraps and other discarded human refuse. As they take in their new surroundings, they can't help but feel a mix of awe, confusion, and disappointment. This certainly isn't the glorious, harmonious insect utopia they had envisioned. But despite the initial letdown, Z and Bala can't help but be intrigued by this strange new world they've discovered. Meanwhile, back at the colony, the ruthless General Mandible has learned from his interrogation of Weaver that Z is out there searching for the legendary Insectopia. Determined to stop him and regain full control, Mandible sends his second-in-command, the cunning flying ant Cutter, to track down and capture Bala. Under the cover of night, Cutter arrives at the trash can that Z and Bala have mistaken for Insectopia. Forcibly grabbing Bala, Cutter flies her back to the colony, where Mandible reveals his sinister plan. He intends to restart the colony with Bala as his new queen, eliminating the current queen and the worker ants in the process. Chip, the grieving wasp who had earlier befriended Z and Bala, generously offers to fly Z back to the colony, determined to help him rescue his lost love. When Z finally arrives back at the colony, Mandible's soldiers quickly apprehend him and force him towards the massive mega-tunnel project that the workers have been toiling on. But as Z makes his way through the tunnel, he stumbles upon Bala, who is being held captive in Mandible's office. Without hesitation, he frees Bala, and together they make a horrifying discovery. Mandible's mega-tunnel isn't just a construction project, it's a death trap. Mandible's plan is to drown the queen and all the worker ants at the grand opening ceremony, clearing the way for him to seize absolute power. Bala quickly rushes to warn the queen, while Z races against time to try and stop the workers from completing the tunnel. But despite his best efforts, he fails to convince them to down tools and abandon the project. The water is rising, and the workers are trapped, with no way to escape. In a desperate last-ditch effort, Z and Bala manage to unify the queen and the workers, inspiring them to work together to build a towering ladder towards the surface. As the water continues to rise, the ants frantically climb, their combined strength and determination the only thing standing between them and a watery grave. Meanwhile, Mandible has gathered all of his loyal soldier ants on the surface. With a twisted grin, he gloats to them about his grand plan to create a new colony where only the strong will survive. Mandible is convinced that by eliminating the worker ants and the queen, he'll be able to reshape the colony in his own image, with him as the undisputed ruler. But just as he is basking in his perceived victory, something unexpected happens. His own second-in-command, Colonel Cutter, suddenly turns on him and betrays the plan. Cutter rushes to the surface and helps the worker ants break through, rescuing them from the rising waters below. Enraged by this betrayal, Mandible charges at Cutter, determined to eliminate this threat to his power. But before he can reach him, Z steps in and bravely takes the blow, sacrificing himself to protect the workers. The force of Mandible's attack sends them both tumbling back down into the flooded tunnel below. But just when all seems lost, Cutter swoops in and pulls him from the brink of drowning. When Z finally regains consciousness, he's greeted with cheers and adulation from the worker ants. They hail him as a hero, recognizing his selfless actions in saving them from Mandible's sinister scheme. Z, once a meek and anxious worker ant, has undergone an incredible transformation. He's no longer content to simply follow orders and serve the collective. Instead, he's found a sense of purpose and fulfillment in using his unique skills and talents to benefit the colony in his own way. And with Bala by his side, he knows that the possibilities for the future are limitless.